Hi and welcome to this video in the MRDCL EPS series. That's the Excel productivity scripting features that are within MRDCL. Now in this video we're not going to look at actually implementing the code. That's coming in subsequent videos. In this video we're going to look at the preparation work you need to do and considerations you need to make before you actually write a line of code. So the task we're going to try and undertake here is to set up a system so that tables can be specified through a spreadsheet. So it could be a completely de-skilled task, and all the standard tables could be put in by a junior person or a researcher or somebody doing more of a clerical role than an expert MRDCL user. So you might start with something like this as your design, where you have some columns in a spreadsheet headed QNum or something. You can give it any name you wish: QNum, banner and title. And then down here we would have the tables we want, so one table for Q1, another for Q2, Q3, Q4, and then an indication of which banner we want: banner 1, banner 2, for different tables, and perhaps the text or the title text that we want on each of those 4 tables. Well, that's fine, that's a good start. That's thinking of the basics that we need to actually generate a table. But it is important to consult with colleagues and anybody who's going to use this template so that it covers pretty much all the uses that it's ever going to have, and also give it some scope for extensibility, which we'll look at in a minute. So what I'm going to do here is now show you some more columns, and this is not an exhaustive list of things you might want to do, but it gives you some ideas on the sorts of things you might want to think about if you were developing this particular template. So one column I've got in here, you can see, is one headed Use. So that means that if it's set to Y, it's going to produce that table. If it's set to N for no, it will hide that table and not produce it. Now that could be quite a useful feature if you had maybe 300 tables and you just wanted to rerun 1 or 2 tables. You could set them all to N very quickly in the spreadsheet, and then just set Y on the couple of tables you want, run it, and you'll get your 2 tables. So effectively what EPS is all about is that this worksheet's going to drive what output we get. And an MRDCL script is going to read it to interpret that and perform whatever it's supposed to do. And it means, of course, that everybody can do their work in the same way, and it's very easy to follow and see what people have done. So you can see in the next column I've headed this one filter, and so what this means that if it's blank there's no filter, but for these 2 tables I want to filter it on people who have seen the advertising at question 2. So there's a little bit of syntax in there, Q2/1, but nothing terribly difficult to understand. So that's people who gave the first answer at question 2, and I put some text in for that saying all who have seen advert. Now the next column that I'm going to put into my template is something I think is very helpful and very useful, and something I'd always consider if you're going to do something like this with tables, and that's a column that's headed My File, and that allows the user here to add in some MRDCL script that does something that's probably too complicated to do through a simple form like this. So my Q2.stp means that I want to insert at that point, just after question 2, some script that's going to pull in something in MRDCL code that does something that perhaps we can't do through this form. So it's sort of like an escape. I called it extensibility in the introduction just now, but it's like an escape that means, well, if there's something that's beyond the scope of this form, we can plug it in, or an MRDCL person can plug that in and produce maybe a complicated table that needs some scripting to do and would be beyond perhaps putting it into a form that has a general purpose. So it's a get out basically that people can use. In here I've added a column headed format, so if we want any formats on a particular table we could specify them. If there's no special formats we can leave it blank, but here we've got DPR1, and here we're calling 2 formats, CLW5 and RTH. And just to make it complete, there's a column here called comments, which isn't going to be used at all in processing. It's just there for notes and any other comments you want to make, just for sort of housekeeping purposes. So the idea is that this spreadsheet here can be specified or used by pretty much anybody with very minimal training, so that if an MRDCL script is developed, it can read this and automatically generate these 4 tables. And if someone were to change this spreadsheet, maybe change that to a Y, the idea would be that the MRDC script would automatically recognize that change and produce 4 tables rather than 3 tables. Now, the other thing that we're going to build into this system is specification of the banners. Now, I'm keeping this fairly simple here, but you can see that we're setting up banner 1, banner 2, banner 3. Banner 1 is going to call in gender and question 1. Banner 2 is going to call in gender, age and question 1. And banner 3 is going to pick up age and Q1. So this is a way of indicating what banners, what we want included in each banner. So for example, banner 1 has gender and Q1, and we're using banner 1 here, and banner 2 is used for questions 3 and 4, and that's going to have all 3 of those things on that particular banner across the top of those tables. So again, I've invented a simple system here that's going to let me specify my tables. Let's go to the practicality of looking at this project just a little bit more. And if we look at it, you'll see the data stage has been specified in a standard sort of way using MRDCL script. Of course, that could have been input using an EPS template. And after it's read up all the questions, you'll see it starts getting into the EPS script that actually controls the running of this. Now we're going to look at that in a moment, but let's just save this. It's very good practice to close these, because if these are big workbooks, it can seriously slow down your run. So I always recommend that people save them. And now we should be able to run that script. And it's just going to compile it. There's no data here. And if we look at the listing file it's produced, you can see that's exactly what we had at the top. Now it's pulling together my banners. And down here, we've got all the tables that it's specified. So table 1 was Q1 by banner 1, calling in format DPR1. Table 2 was Q2 by banner 1. Down here was a table with Q21 as the filter, and banner 2 across the top. And what this means is that if we wanted to add another table or change one of these definitions, so let's open up my workbook.xls again. Let's just change this one now to have banner 3. And let's say we want to take that filter off there. And we do want this question here. So we can save this, close it, run again. And we should see now, if we go down to our tables, that table 1 is question 1 by banner 3 now, not by banner 1 anymore. And the other changes that I effected there have been carried out. But the key point here is the workbook itself. If you're going to design an EPS template, it's important to make consideration of all the things that you want to do. So if you had something like a rating scale in here, it might be that you want a top 2 box sometimes with a rating scale. So you might have a column here called subtotals or something like that, in which you could ask for a top 2 box. So we could plug into this here if we want to extend it. Summary codes, and in here we might put in top 2 box, and that could drive something. So if that was something that people wanted regularly, we could plug that in so that it was automatically generated, and we might have another option for a top 2 and a bottom 2 box, so that it got a top 2 and a bottom automatically added to it when it comes to be analysed. So all these little things that would help somebody and give it more flexibility should be considered before developing the template. And then, of course, having done that, the next task is actually to write the script that's going to read this workbook. Now, that's going to be covered in the next video, and we're actually going to write the script that will read this particular workbook and implement the changes as they're implemented. and look at the banners as well and pick up the banners that we want. So that's the end of this video. This is just a video to get you thinking about what needs to go into your template before you start, because if you don't think that, it's not going to be a very successful EPS. There's no point designing a template that only satisfies 40% of occasions when this sort of thing is needed, because people just won't use it. They'll just write script and the whole benefit of it will be lost. So it's important to include in all the features, and we're going to look at how we do that in the next video. Thank you.